I, a 36-year-old female, have a teen son named Liam. His dad bailed on us when he was 1. He was too much of a coward to tell me himself that he didn't want to be a dad anymore, and got his parents to tell me this. I was devastated. His parents weren't very happy with him and tried to convince him to come back, but he refused. I moved on and met my now husband Daniel, 38, when Liam was 4. He's good to Liam and sees him as his own. Liam knows that Daniel is not his biological dad, but that doesn't matter to him. Daniel loves kickboxing, and it didn't take long before Liam became passionate about it as well. So, Daniel enrolled him in a kickboxing club. They both trained a lot together, and Liam started winning local tournaments. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my ex's sister April had been sending my ex these updates on Liam. Despite my moving on, I still had contact with my ex's parents-in-law, and my son has a relationship with them. We were always invited to family events like birthdays and holidays, and they're fine with my husband. Not once has my ex shown up while we were there. I did know that my ex did mend his relationship with his family at some point. I told my ex's parents that the door was open for him to visit and have a relationship with Liam if he wanted when Liam was younger, but he never did take up on my invitation. On to what happened at April's daughter Sophie's birthday. We showed up, and the first thing I noticed was that April was looking stressed. I knew why when I noticed my ex was sitting at a table with his girlfriend. Liam came in beside me, and my ex nodded at him and said, "Hey, son." Liam froze. There was this horrible pause, and my ex said, "I heard you're doing well in your fighting. You got that from my side." Before I could say anything, Liam said, "Don't try to claim something you never had a part in." Everyone was quiet and watching us. April tried to intervene, but my ex said, "I raised him to be a brat." And Liam just went off on him. A lot of heated words came out from my son that I've never heard him say before. He called him a deadbeat and said he abandoned us, that he was just a waste of space. Daniel had to come in and only caught the end of it. He had to drag out Liam before it escalated. We ended up leaving, and my son was crying. April texted later and said she wanted an apology from Liam for ruining Sophie's birthday. I told her to let him calm down first, but she kept pushing it until I snapped and said I would not get him to apologize for telling the truth. She called me an idiot. Since then, I've been getting pressured from my ex's family to apologize. I haven't told Liam yet because he's still hurting from that day. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Anger is a valid response to emotional manipulation and deadbeat parenting. Your son needs your love and support. Don't you dare ask your son to apologize. He did nothing wrong. Not one thing. The adults who thought a surprise was the right way to reintroduce a deadbeat dad are morons. The loser trying to casually take credit for the efforts of a son he didn't raise is also you need to tell your son you had no idea what his relatives were planning and that you support him 100% for his very normal response given the situation. Then you need to keep him from seeing that side of the family until they apologize for springing all this on you and swear not to force their scummy son and brother into your kid's life without asking first. And Sophie deserves an apology from her stupid mother and uncle. They ruined her birthday. Also, one thing that stuck out imagine after your dad has made sure to avoid every single milestone in your life, he decides to meet you at your cousin's milestone. That was pretty crappy of the dad. That's so true. And to stake a claim and try to parent? The dude lost that privilege. OP, they surprised you and your son with your ex? How did they think that would go well? Neither you nor your son owe the deadbeat dad an apology. Everything said by your son was true. Your in-laws all have two choices. They can back down and see your son's point of view, or they can lose contact with you and your son. I'm sorry that you and your family are dealing with this. I traveled across the country to visit a company regarding an incredible job offer. I spent 2 days touring the company to decide if it would be the right fit for me after years of self-employment. After meeting with the company, I visited my sister, 32, and her family a few towns over. We barely see each other because of work and distance, so spending a few days with her, the family, and her new baby was wonderful. I was gone for a total of 8 days. When I returned home, I was excited to spend time with my 33-year-old husband and tell him about the trip, my visit with my sister, my impression of the city, etc. We were meant to be celebrating our anniversary, and we decided to put off the discussion about whether or not I should accept the job offer until after our anniversary getaway. I'd arranged for us to go on a luxury train ride because he's a big train enthusiast, and we were meant to leave for the trip 3 days after I got home. This is when the problem started. I have a very large closed bioactive terrarium, which I made with my mother 15 years ago. It's one of my favorite things I had from her before she passed. This terrarium is my pride and joy and has come with me everywhere since we planted it. It was always healthy and beautiful, and I've only had to open it 4 times to do a little maintenance and watering. My husband knows all of this, so I don't understand why he decided to tamper with it in my absence. I didn't notice the night I got home because I was exhausted, but the next morning, I went to check on the terrarium to find it in a terrible state. The roots were rotting, and the plants were dying and molding. He told me that he poured a few cups of water into the vessel the day I left and sealed it again. I was so mad. I cried. And it turned into a huge argument because it's just a plant, and all you do is look at it anyway. He called me ungrateful and overdramatic and said I should appreciate that he intended to help me and didn't ask because he didn't want to bother me on my trip. I ended up canceling our anniversary plans, partly because I was so upset that I didn't want to go and partly because I wanted to try and salvage the plants, which would require time. He hit the roof when I told him and is now sleeping in a separate room and refusing to speak to me because, according to him, I'm being petty and trying to destroy our marriage. Am I being oversensitive about my plant? My friends are pretty evenly split and have pointed out that he was just trying to be thoughtful, however misguided. Not the idiot. And I doubt your husband was trying to help. Firstly, if you've only opened it a few times, then he knows it doesn't get watered that often. Secondly, he knows how much it means to you, so he should know that you would have taken care of it before you went or would have left very detailed instructions. Also, how big is it? Would a few cups of water have been way too much? Even if he was just being helpful, the you just look at it comment is also strange. That's what everyone does with their plants. He didn't forget. He maliciously killed something you love. Original poster. I'm not sure if he's enjoying being abusive or is trying to drive you to leave him so you'll be the bad guy, but he doesn't love you and has no intentions of treating you well. My personal speculation is that the husband is insecure about the career decisions original poster is facing, and he's trying to control her. Original poster. I believe that the most likely explanation is that your husband wanted to punish you for leaving him alone for so long. My stepfather used to do this all the time with things my mother loved. He was jealous of any time she spent away from him. Whenever she spent time with me, my grandparents, or her sister, he would help her by destroying or damaging something plants, books, her antiques, and the piano that had been handed down through generations. Anything she loved. His behavior escalated to the point she wasn't allowed any friends and wasn't allowed to see family. He controlled what she wore and what she ate. Whether now or 10 years from now, you will realize your marriage ended the day your husband acted on his rage. For context, I, a 34-year-old male, work as a hospice nurse in my country, specifically for children. This job means a lot to me, but it can get very overwhelming and hard to function, especially seeing small children suffer. My wife, 37, is a stay-at-home mom to our kids, a tween son, and a young grammar school-aged daughter. After work, I need to spend 30 minutes to an hour by myself just to let go of all the negativity, sadness, and stress I have. And before you jump to conclusions, after this time to myself, I give my wife a break. I take over. The cooking of dinner, making snacks for the kids the next day, helping with homework, washing dishes, and any other pending housework. My wife has recently just been slamming into my room. It's just a tiny room with a bed and a mini fridge with Coca-Cola in it and demanding I take over or do something instead of just sulking in my room. It's especially annoying when you're meditating and someone starts screaming nonstop at you. I've talked to her, but she says it's selfish that she has to take care of the kids while I act like a kid and cry and get intoxicated over my job. I told her that it's hard for me and that I don't drink and it's emotionally draining, so I don't want to bring that negativity into my family. She just started to scream at me, so I snapped at her to just get out because she was acting like a brat. She went silent and is now giving me the silent treatment. Am I the idiot? I meditated in my room. That's all. This was recommended to me by therapist friends and work-appointed therapy sessions. All my friends do it because it helps unwind. I was an alcoholic 13 years ago, but now every time we get into an argument, she always throws it back in my face. I take my kids to school and make them breakfast. And I also say hi and give them kisses and hugs when I come home. I've explained to them just how they need a nap after school. Daddy also needs a little nap before he can come and play and help with homework. They understand. And my daughter frequently gives me her sleep stuffy of the day. Having to mentally decompress from work for up to an hour daily sounds exhausting and quite frankly not exactly healthy. I have a hard time believing this doesn't trickle down into your personal life somehow despite the alone time. I don't think a judgment about this particular situation is helpful, but I'm extremely curious if you think this job is sustainable for you. For goodness sake, of course, he needs to decompress after work. That job is unimaginably taxing on the soul. I understand his wife not wanting to wait up to an hour each day for a break, but if the kids are at the ages they would be in school all day, so she's pulling child duty in the morning and after school, not all day with, say, toddlers. Original poster. You're not the idiot. It sounds like she also despises you, calling you a baby for having feelings. Working with dying, sick kids is a weird level of callousness. Also, I cannot understand her throwing his actions from 13 years ago in your face. That's just ugly. Sober for 13 years, another huge daily accomplishment. Everyone says he needs to rethink his job, just stop. It takes a special kind of person to be a hospice worker, much less to work with dying children. We as a society need people like him. I own my own home. I was given my deposit in the form of inheritance from my late grandmother 3 years ago. I'm fortunate and grateful for this, and I don't hide that's how I could buy it. My boyfriend, 27, of 8 months, just bought his first home. I'm very happy for him. However, he likes to tell people he did it without any help and saved it all by himself. This is technically true. He did save the money by himself, but he also got help in that his parents let him live at home rent-free and food-free for years so he could save. So, he was able to save £30,000 in 2 years because of this. He was having some friends around, not a housewarming, and bragging about how he saved up all by himself and didn't just get a handout like some people while also looking at me. I was shocked by this as, due to the current housing market, everyone I know has had some help from family to buy homes, even those in couples. I said back what I said in the title and pointed out he lived at home rent-free for years so he did get help from his parents. One of his friends agreed with me. My boyfriend got angry, and the night ended shortly after once everyone left. He told me I was an idiot and embarrassed him in front of his friends. So, am I the idiot for this? Yes. He was deliberately looking at me when he made the comment. Everyone could tell he paid for nothing while living at home. No rent, no contribution to gas and electricity, no council tax, and he didn't pay for food he bought himself. A newer car because he didn't like the family one he was able to use after university. I house shared and rented for 5 years. I saved some money but nowhere near enough to buy because of the cost of renting. I wouldn't have my home if not for my grandma. Because of the current housing situation, he was having some friends around. It wasn't a housewarming and breaking about how he saved up all by himself and didn't just get a handout like some people while also looking at me. This makes me say not the idiot. If he just said he saved up by himself as a throwaway comment and didn't make a comparison, it would have been a slight idiot move to call out. However, making his achievement in buying a house somehow greater than yours was an idiot move on his part. That's called trying to one-up someone, but to up him. But I'm sure his friends already knew how he got the house. But more to the point, does original poster want to stay in a relationship with a guy who acts this way? Bragging, lying, insulting original poster, getting mad when original poster calls him on all this. Unless this was a one-off, this incident would cause me to seriously question my feelings for the guy. Original poster. Who wants to be with someone like that? Right, damn. I can't imagine being in a relationship with someone that minimizes my accomplishments. You're supposed to encourage and support each other, not tear each other down. Original poster. He made it a competition. He didn't have to put you down to have his moment. Rent and groceries are expensive, so he didn't do it all alone. There's been no secret that my mom and dad hate each other. I don't think a week has gone by without them having screaming matches and someone driving off in their car. You get the gist of it. This has been kind of hurtful to me. They've never done anything to me, but they've always dumped their feelings about each other on me. I've always heard everything, and yeah, no kid wants that. They've been talking about getting a divorce in almost every argument since I can remember, and I think that is one of their most used words ever. I always hoped they would divorce. I love my parents. I do, but they also deserve a pun who loves them. So last night, while we were having dinner, they told me they had some bad news and told me to please not get upset, that they've tried everything, and so on. They then broke the news that they were going to divorce each other. I just said, "Oh, okay," and continued eating. They both started to cry and told me that I was insensitive, that I must have no feelings because who does not react to their parents' divorce, and more stuff. They may have been mad at me since because of my reaction. When I talked to my friend, she told me that it was really bad of me to react like that, even though I was happy about the news. Maybe I was an idiot for not reacting more, but I mean, I can't force tears for news I've waited my whole life to hear. Not the idiot. Your reaction is normal. You don't have to pretend sadness for their sake. It seems that you've already learned that just because you reach adulthood, it doesn't mean that you reach maturity, and unfortunately, it seems like you're saddled with two emotionally immature parents. Just know their reaction is more about them and their inability to properly process their emotions. Nothing is going on here besides you having drama parents. Opie's parents are probably reacting this way in part because they always figured their marriage was miserable, but at least that sacrifice was for something. The revelation that remaining married was worse for themselves and their kid, and they just made everyone miserable for no reason, understandably stings. I think they'll probably have to process that before they can become amicably divorced co-parents. Darling, hopefully, you will be okay, and they will be much happier parents for you now they are going their separate ways.